Welcome back to Monday Love Point 2. My fault, I was uploading a rather large video to my YouTube channel, which affected our bandwidth, so blame me for that one. Apologies. So,
who knew?
Who knew? So listen, we've got a few of the questions saved from earlier, so we're going to run through those in a little while. But listen, we've got a super exciting guest on the show today. Multiple winner on the Ladies European Tour, general all-round superstar and good egg. Carly Booth. Come on in, Carly.
Hey guys.
Welcome to the Bay.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. Monday Live. This is what happens on a Monday Live. Well, it's a Tuesday.
You know what? It's lovely.
It's a Monday Live. So what we tend to do on the show is we tend to talk about what went on the weekend with the golf. And you are our first guest on the show.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to throw a few questions at you.
Okay.
Maybe we'll hit some shots. But
Perfect.
obviously the people that are
questions
tuning in,
anyone else wants to throw in,
tuning in,
Sounds good.
fire them away. We'll see them up on the screen here. A few people have already said that they're excited to see you on the show, so really good. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Now, of course, as a coach, always really excited to pick the brains of a champion golfer, someone that's won. When you won on the Ladies European Tour for the first time, what did it feel like? Because you've dreamt about that, you know, as a young girl, wanting to, you know, I've seen all the stuff online about, the interviews that you had up at your farm and on the course and stuff. So to then go on and win on the Ladies European Tour, how was that for you?
Well, that was quite a memorable one, especially being an invite to the Scottish Open. So winning in my home country was all I could ask for, with my mom and my brother being there to support. But on the other side, it was the first time where, like, if I won, I could tell my mom I just got a speeding ticket, because I was only 19, and she was paying my car insurance.
So you'd got a speeding ticket that week?
Yes.
Oh no.
So I just felt like, relief.
I've won, but Mum, I've got a speeding ticket.
Yeah, I've got some bad news.
I'm assuming it was delivered in that order as well.
It was, I didn't know how I was going to deliver it, but it was delivered after the win. And then also, it was the most nervous moment of my life, where I actually hit a 40-yard bunker shot onto the green, a par 5 finishing hole.
A 40-yarder?
Yeah, which I don't even know how to do them today. To 20 feet, left it about 2 feet short, and I almost left it short.
Oh, wow.
So that was the nerves kicked in straight away.
So it tiptoed in the front edge.
Yeah.
And of course, that moment when you realise the last putt's gone in, you've won, there's obviously probably floods of tears, emotion.
It was more of like
relief,
this stress off my shoulders, because my first 2 years on tour were a little bit of a struggle. I was kind of learning it, traveling so much. I think you learn so much in your first couple years on tour, especially being so young and being on your own. So that was my memorable moment there.
Yeah, also kind of going back into that is like, I know, for me, now playing, if I'm playing well, it's so hard not to get into that don't mess it up mentality. I remember when we were out in Greece, but all 3 rounds I started well, was under par through 6, 7 holes, all 3 rounds, and then needed an ambulance for the middle 6 because I just started to try not to mess it up. And so when you're in that situation, you're playing well, is there something that you kind of do as a technique, as a mental approach? Or you just keep playing in terms of freeing up and just playing?
Well, I mean, I can only go back to that year, 2012, where, my first 2 years, 2010 and 11, were a struggle. I won an Access event in a playoff 2 weeks before the Scottish Open. So I think that just gave me that boost of confidence that I needed to go into the season. And then winning the Scottish, all of a sudden, my mentality just changed. I just had all this confidence. Yeah. And, my next goal was, right, I want to win one more time before I turn 20. Mm-hmm. And I only had 2 tournaments to do it. And I won it in the second one after. So I won 3 in the space of 2 months. And it's really such a mental game. When you have the confidence and you have the ability, you're not there for not having it. So it's trusting in it. And yeah, it's just from there. Now it's almost, 10 years later? So.
Probably helps doing a lot of practice as well.
Yeah, that was a lot of practice.
I mean, the golfers don't appreciate that when you play it as a kid, the game as a kid. How old
Yeah.
were you when you started playing?
Like 4, first
Right.
handicap at 8.
Right.
But you that's where quite a lot of people, I've just been up in my family's home this past weekend. And it's funny how all the greenkeeper at my club and stuff asking me questions and stuff. We had a big kind of family reunion thing. And it's like, when you don't think about it so much when you're younger, like all I wanted to do was hit it over this hill. It was about 120 yards when it was about 6.
Yeah.
And when I got over that, I was like, yes, you always had to set yourself a target, a goal. And I think that's all I ever did, especially having an older brother that was hitting it 320 yards in the air.
Yeah, because Wallace was Walker Cup, and
Yeah.
so it wasn't exactly a bad.
So I had someone to
target.
really try and beat, which was almost impossible. So, I mean, he really encouraged me to become the best player I could be.
And people don't appreciate that when you play at such a young age, this golf club becomes a part of you, right? I mean, it's...
That's all I know.
Yeah, it's an extension of your limb,
Yeah.
isn't it? And you can't articulate. I mean, we've all played to a decent level, not as obviously as good as yourself, but the club, when you've been playing it for such a long time, it really becomes part of you, and you just can't pick that up in your 40s, can you? You pick a golf club up for the first time, sure you can play great golf,
Yeah.
sure you can play to scratch and good, but something about having a club in your hand, it's like it just feels a part of you, doesn't it?
Well, like a lot of people ask me for like, can you have a little look at this or this technique? I'm like, especially with bunkers, for example, where it's such a feel. I'm such a feel player myself, so I'm just like, just open the face and hit it.
Yeah.
My logic to it is very, very limited.
It's instinctive though. As you say, if you've grown up, I've always thought technique, and that's why I was awful at getting rid of those thoughts on the course, and probably where my failings are. I get over analytical.
Well, it's actually where a lot of
If you just hit shots, if you see a shot and hit it and react to what you see, I know that's when I play best, but I'm just not very good at doing it.
But it becomes primal, doesn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like you just
But
said.
a lot of people get too focused on how the swing looks, or these aspects of everything that needs to be perfect, where it doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that more on both ladies and men's tour, where the focus has got more into, I guess, distance to a point, but actually just what does the ball do, not how does it look. You've got Bubba and Jim Furyk, and you've got Finau, and you've got Rory's a beautiful swing, Scheffler with his feet going all over the place. We're starting to see so many different actions out there, and it's just the result that matters.
Well, you look at the top 10 in the world, they all swing it so differently.
Very, very different.
And that's just, where everyone needs to realize it's not a pretty picture, it's a scorecard at the end of the day.
Yeah, and comment from Niels, I completely agree about distance on tour, and I agree that on tour, distance is king.
Now it's important.
Now I need my glasses.
It's important, Simon, when we go through these questions, that we read the question before we answer it, because not everybody is looking at the questions. Everybody's looking at young Carly and yourself.
Well, I need to get closer. 'Cause
Well,
I've
I'll
got
ask you
my
the
glasses
questions.
on.
So let's start from the top. So we'll work through these questions.
There's one that came on before the stream went, which I will address. It was about does a stiffer shaft cause a heel strike? And the answer is directly no. It doesn't. That you get a very small amount of change in the amount of deflection the shaft makes. So in theory, if the shaft didn't droop and deflect at all, then yes, but they all do. So on its own, it won't be just that. It'll be functioning something else as well.
Brilliant. So I love Turtle 315.
It's a great name.
What's that?
It's the name. It's not a dish.
Good to see Stu hasn't gone Billy big time following his Sky Sports cameo, keeping it real. Thank you very much. I love Turtle. Good. I will always.
We know what really happened
I saw the
behind
Billy
scenes.
Big bit, and
Yeah.
I wonder where that was going.
So Stu, hi guys. Could you explain why a lower tee peg with a driver causes a fade when a lower tee would generally mean hitting down on the golf ball is more of it into out path? Let's see, Carly. So, Carly, when you're trying to trap one down there and fade it, would you tee it low or would you?
The funny thing is, playing a lot of winter golf and playing, by the sea, I used to be that person to tee it down. and play more punchy shot. But it was more control, but not distance.
Yeah.
That was me,
The way you played it.
the way I played it. I mean, everyone's different. I feel like if lowering it down, sometimes I would hit it a little bit too heely.
Yeah.
So you end up trying to hit it down. I feel like with the woods, you're meant to try and hit it slightly up. So it can vary in that sense of the conditions.
Yeah.
That's the only way I would say I would adjust my tee. Because sometimes I could hit it like tee so high and just want to just flight it so high and it's just going to airborne and hopefully it goes straight. But,
Yeah.
you know.
What's your take on that, Simon?
I think this goes back to years ago when the ball spun more, you had to launch it low to keep it going through the wind because it was always going to spin a lot or hit a draw. So the tee it low to knock the flight down used to be more important than it is now. Now the ball doesn't spin. The worst thing you want to do is hit down on it because then it creates spin and the ball stalls into the wind.
Yeah.
So actually, most golfers would be better off teeing it as high or a bit higher. Because if you strike it on the top half of the face, you get a spin off.
Yeah.
So I think that goes back to years
Yeah,
ago. But from
I
a
agree with
coaching
that as
point
well,
of view,
Yeah, and well, I think from it's really nice, obviously having Carly here. From a player's perspective, a player just finds their way, don't he? I mean,
Yeah.
you over years, and probably somewhere along the line, oh, have you maybe tried this? And we were away in Costa Navarino, and we were talking about angle of attack with driver with Roger
Yeah.
Chapman, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
said,
Roger.
and I said something. He said, oh, I'll try that, and he had a go, and all of a sudden he upped his launch and dropped his spin. I can't remember really what it was. But there'll be times along the way as a player that somebody said something and you've just had to try it and you go, that works, or no, that's rubbish, and I'll go back to the way. But
Yeah.
ultimately, good players just
But
find
you
their
kind
way.
of find, you feel it, you know,
course.
you go to the, like, at one point I remember like I really just lost my kind of feel of my swing. And I hit 100 balls, and it took me that to just figure it out. And you sometimes have to just do it yourself.
Do it yourself, yeah.
And you try different things. You listen. You've got your coaches. You've got people that you can listen to, or you know, all this kind of help that you have online. But you have to feel it yourself.
Yeah. So, let's go. We've got a few. Brilliant. There we go down to Neil's. I also see some fluctuations, but good enough to continue for
Oh,
short
that's on the
audio.
stream.
Oh, okay, about the stream. Sorry.
Niels is definitely a tech expert.
My video is no longer uploading. It will be uploaded later and be released in the morning. Shameless plug.
Well, the comment from Barry, his observation, the average golfer doesn't need to chase distance, they need consistency. I think there is, that from a fitting point of view, and what we see day in, day out in the Bay, you know, accuracy and being in play off the tee trumps being 15 yards further in the rough or the trees the whole time. However, I think on tour, I think now what all the stats show, and this goes back to Niels' comment about the Arcos and distance being king, on tour, on the men's tour certainly, the stats have shown that longer hitters on average win more. But I think for amateur golfers, for most golfers, you know, if you take your average 15 handicap, 18 handicap player, put it in the fairway.
I think it's important for amateurs, especially, to not compare themselves to the Dustin Johnson, the Rory McIlroy, because they're out of your depth. They're out of my depth, you know. So it's really like, you know, I know tour players that don't hit it very far. David Horsey is one that still won on tour, but his accuracy was so good that made him win. You know, so it's not, I mean, certain courses suit certain players, of course, but it's not now it's becoming a lot about distance. And of course, it's easier if you hit it so far. Like my brother, he used to hit it so far, but it could be in any direction. But like, I feel that you need to really work on the consistency. If you hit it straight down the middle, if you hit fairway green in regulation, each time you've got 18 putts there for birdie.
Monty, that's what Monty is. But I think it's
And
also
he's a prime example.
You look at the courses you used, like Harbour Town and Colonial. Well, you couldn't get away with that. So I think
Yeah.
there's a bit the men's tour courses suit lashing at miles,
Yeah.
gouging out the rough. But you stick them on a short, tight course.
Yeah.
It's fun. You know, look at the Players Championship when Furyk nearly won the other year,
Yeah.
when Rory won only a few years back, and this is a guy on the seniors tour. You know, pretty much. So I think there's a little bit of interpretation for the pros based on course type, but for amateurs, I would go with consistency all the time.
I did when I was doing some research last week. I don't know if you know, I was on Sky Sports last week. So the
Have you recovered yet?
Yeah, I'm good. The sleep deprivation was brutal, but when I was doing the research for a few of the players, a few of the players were getting up in contention. Billy Horschel was one of them. I mean, he's been really quiet all year, and all of the consistent protagonists that are not doing well this year, they're all battling off the tee, and all of a sudden, a few of them were in contention. They'd found the fairway. And we're not talking lots of fairways, we're talking like 8 out of 14, a few of them. And they just put them in play. This trend of you've got to blast it out there, and we'd forgotten the yesteryear of hitting it in the fairway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you are in the fairway and you give up 20, 30, 40, that still works.
Exactly.
For everyone, whether you're tour level, whether you're club golfer, get it in the shortcut, even if it means taking a 5-iron off the tee. And so many people, club golfers, they're getting a shot on a hole on a 400-yard hole, and they still whop their driver out. Well, I know this may sound a bit defeatist. If it's a problem hole, why don't you just get a 5-iron out, stick it in play, knock another 5 down, and then pitch it. There's so many ways to make a score. This real drive to keep pushing for yardage, I think, for amateur golfers.
I think what we ought to do a little bit of short hitting, and I think one of us, I'm happy to be guinea pig, but to do a kind of a lash it swing, but also a controlled one. So actually, probably how little difference in distance there is, because so the difference I think golfers think there is between going for it and actually a controlled swing.
I say we all start lashing.
Well, just regarding what you said, exactly. I think the main thing for amateurs to really improve is actually course management, and a lot of people forget about that. It doesn't mean like hitting it as far as you can. It's playing the course.
Absolutely.
You're playing the course.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the main aspect of people improving needs to kind of be more focused on.
Yeah.
So we're going to hit some.
I'm going to borrow
God.
yours because my driver's
Need to warm up.
not in.
Go on.
yet, no.
Do you need to hit a few, Carly?
Just crack my back.
It sounds like you do. Precision Golf, Kate, James's wife, says, so great to see you on, Carly. So excited to play golf.
Thanks, Kate. Looking forward to Thursday.
Playing golf next week.
This week,
Are you playing this week?
Yeah.
Where are you playing?
We're playing at Fox Hills.
Oh yeah, I heard that actually. They're shutting the course down for you too. Yeah, it's slow play all day. Anyway, Brian McAllister, always fitted into a 206 gram driver head weight. Orange Pro 60R suits well. Tried Orange 1K, but just feels very different. Is there any other counterbalance shaft with a similar profile? Carly, what do you think?
You guys would know.
I have no clue on that.
I have no clue either. I'm
not-
usually a 250, 260 S. That's all I know.
Right.
Roughly for my, I'm not one of those.
Over to you,
kind of-
Simon.
Yeah, Simon.
Yeah, so I
Go
think
on.
what with the Orange Pro, that's the Orange 1K, that's the Mitsubishi Tensei Orange Series, and that is a tip stiff counterbalance shaft. So it's a pretty heavily counterbalanced shaft as well. I think you'll be looking at the Hazardous Blue, the ion plate, not the standard one. That's another one that's pretty stable for spin. Potentially the Hazardous Smoke Green RDX as well. That's a little bit heavier, but that's fairly similar. And then I would say if you don't want something quite as counterbalanced, but you want the stability, if it's the stable feel you're looking for, then actually a Ventus TR. It's not counterbalanced, but it's really stable on the handle.
Brilliant. Good to know.
Good
Did
to know.
you get that?
I'll be testing it later on. I think.
I like this all in an essay.
Yeah, and I love Turtle. Simon, I love that name. I love Turtle 315. Simon, what's the rationale for heavier shaft weight progression in wedges? P.S. Can I get Stu's autograph? I love Turtle.
The clamour for this now. The clamour.
You can get it anytime.
Rationale being, actually, what I'll borrow one of Stu's for this. So on a full wedge shot, full swing club, then you want the lighter weight.
He's
to help
always
you.
desperate to hit shots.
To help,
He
well,
can't
they
help
want to
himself.
see shots.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. They want to see Carly hit
you
shots.
wanna-
They don't want to see
yeah,
us
yeah,
hit
No,
shots.
honestly, don't. You,
So
you
you
get
want
away.
you want the club to come with you. So trying to generate speed. So you want relatively speaking, a little lighter weight to help get through the ball. When you go into wedge shots, 90% of the time you go a little heavier because you're using the weight
Pull
differently.
draw. It's a pull draw.
So
So you guys been practicing?
He's been hitting balls all afternoon.
yeah, I wish. So because you're not accelerating as much, you don't need the club to come with you. So you're using the weight to drop the club down into the ball. So where you're not accelerating the handle as much, we want the club to drop down, and then you're regulating that tempo with the weight to play the partial shot. So that's why you normally use a little bit more weight in wedges than you do in the irons.
Well, see, it was a good answer.
Thank you.
Now, seeing as you haven't hit any balls, Carly, we can have a little, very quick talk on how you would warm up.
Okay, so my
How
warm
good?
up,
Look at that
How
link.
would you? See that
That's
link
well
in there?
linked.
See that? That's it.
just a wee small bag today. So my warm up would tend to start with some stretches.
Obviously, you've done that in the car
Yeah.
park outside. Got that? Yeah.
That's just put your shoes on the back of the car.
That's it. Yeah.
And just put my shoes on.
Hey, you see all these guys on the range, don't you? So just
Yeah.
swing their legs around.
Generally,
No,
I
you really don't. You see them doing this.
generally I go up in odds
You go up
for
in
my
odds.
war. Yeah,
Okay,
so
do you
I'll
want me
go.
to- do you want me to help you out
Yeah,
here with
thanks.
some tips?
Just get a few out. So I would start with. I mean, I usually start with like doing a couple of chips. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, shush. Don't let him see that.
What camera are we on now, James?
You better not be
A
watching
little bit of love
right
there.
now.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey. Is he tuned in?
I don't know. He's on a tube probably or a train.
okay. Well,
coming
if
home
he's
from
tuned
work.
in, make sure you comment. So you're going to warm up. So you're warming up.
So I would warm up usually like with a
yeah.
54.
He's not I Love Turtle, is he? He's not I Love Turtle. That's not his handle, is he?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Sorry, I
Definitely not.
interrupted your flow there. So you got your 9 iron out.
So I would usually chip a little bit before, come to the range. If I'm talking about a tournament round, a couple putts, depends morning, afternoon. If I've got plenty of time, I'll do a little bit more putting prior, do some chipping, come to the range, start with like a 54 degree, and then kind of go pitch and wedge 9-ish, depending how warmed up I am, and then go 7, 5 wood, couple 3 woods, not my favorite club, driver,
Yeah.
and then head back to the putt green, couple putts, go.
Brilliant.
So I try not to overthink. My warm up on tour is usually a warm up. It's not a swing thought.
Love it.
So
Love
I
it.
think that's very, very key for a lot of people to not literally start overthinking before they're about to tee off.
And
I'm
to
so-
add
I'm
into
not
that,
even hit
though,
wedge
there's
yet. I've got 9
Do you want to hit, go on, go with your 48. You got your
You
No,
do it
48.
because I
wedge,
might
just-
like.
do the wedge go off the front.
Yeah,
Matt?
go off the
Was
front
this-
there. Go on, if you, yeah.
And to actually add into that, Neil said, on a training week, how much would you be doing in terms of strength, flexibility, long game, short game? How much, I guess, particularly kind of long game, short game, proportionately, would you tend to have a kind of a pattern that you would focus a certain amount of time regularly to long
that's why I
game
needed to warm
versus
up.
short game?
The thing is, we tend to like to practice more long game, but for me, I know that my short game needs that little bit more work from 40 yards and in. So that's something prior to my injuries I was trying to work on more of. So less of what you're good at and more of what you're bad at, which everyone hates.
Yeah, nobody wants to feel bad about themselves on the range, do
No,
you?
exactly.
I think the thing that you is really great to see with a good lady golfer is that there's such a lovely hit in Carly's swing,
Yeah.
which I think ladies would love to have in their own game, and a lot of guys would have. But I think that the
Right, a little bit
ladies'
left.
professional game has so much more continuity
it's
with,
'cause the
with
track
the
man's
men's
Oh
more
yeah,
game.
it's just the line it's aimed up on you.
With
Yeah.
the men's amateur game, isn't it?
Oh,
I mean,
100%,
because
yeah.
rather than when you watch men's golf, who can actually relate to carrying it 340? Nobody. Who can relate to hitting a 5-iron
A little bit
220? So few people can. But actually, seeing Carly whip these wedges away, lovely hit, really great striking.
I think what's watching Carly there, it's the acceleration through the shot, through to the finish. That's
That was
the
my
sort of
warm-up.
thing where
I'll give that a clean, madam. I'll give
I
that.
think
Thank
that's
you.
something that
Thank
any elite level golfer, I think that's one of the things that we can all take from the best golfers out there. It's ladies tour, men's tour, seniors tour. They're out there playing for a living because they're very good at it, and actually even on short shots, chipping shots, pitch shots, just the speed through impact, the commitment to that swing. There's no decel involved. It's a real kind of turn through and committed swing.
Any thoughts on the swing at the moment, Carly, that you're working
No, none at all, because
No.
I've hardly played.
on? Good place to be, though.
You should play less often, more often.
Don't
judging
you
by
think
that.
I
that's
say
a
that
nice
all the
place to be,
time.
though? Not
Do you know
thinking.
what? I hate having thoughts.
Swing thoughts, yeah.
One thought,
Yeah.
2 maximum, and then I can
What's
just
for
flow
dinner?
with it.
What's for dinner? And what's what's on TV? They're the two good things. Swing thoughts. When you're playing well,
My swing thoughts are like for me for now at this moment in time, it would be just keeping my height because I'm not quite as fit as I used to be because of my knees. So not kind of going down when I get a little bit tired, and rotate my rotation. So it's more of a pivot, not a sway.
yep.
So it's just really like even doing this as a bit of a kind of drill and feeling this hip right over the ball.
Do you remember the most nervous you felt over a golf shot?
About 2 foot by the sounds of it.
Do you know, I've had too many
Have you? There's
over
been a
the
few.
years. I mean, I can comprehend one in particular, but I think like the moments like Q-School, for example, when I was 17, and it's getting dark, and we're still got like 3 holes to play. We had to finish the hole, or you can put your tee peg in. And I've never been a favorite fan of a 3-wood. So I can't remember what hole it was exactly, but it's a 3-wood. And you know when the sun is piercing in your eyes, and I'm just like to my caddy, can you just watch where this goes? And it's a green where there's a big slope in front and there's water. And I hit this 3-wood. I'm like, I don't know where I went, because I wanted to get this 3-wood out of the way. I didn't want it to be my shot for the following morning.
Got it.
And I hit it to 10 feet. Hold it for eagle.
Oh,
The next morning.
the next morning.
Yeah.
And,
So you're
and
just playing dark glasses the whole time?
So every time I say, where did that go? Usually it's quite a good shot, because I never link straight.
so I love turtle. What does Carly think male amateurs can learn from swings on the LPGA Tour and the LE Tour?
Watch the women.
Just watch them.
Watch the women.
What can they learn from them?
I think it's a more precise kind of swing speed. They can see it more. It's more like able to kind of
Learn from it.
comprehend and learn.
Yeah.
I think the guys, like, you can't comprehend trying to get a Rory McIlroy's like swing speed. I think you can learn a lot. Like,
Because it's relevant shot types, isn't it?
it's
Yeah.
and it's do you know what? It's more the short game as well. Like
Yeah.
how good the 100 yards and in is. It's unbelievable.
And in your golf course management as well, right? I mean, your golf course
Is-
management is pretty spectacular with the
like
ladies' golf.
there's times where like I've literally I want to go for the green. I want to go for the green because I've always been that kind of player. But the amount of times where I've messed up and made a double bogey but put it in the water, where I've made birdies from just laying up to my distance that I know. So I know, like, say my 52 was 105 yards. So lay up to 105 yards, get it close and hole it, you know. And it's less stress,
Yeah.
but it's not as fun.
Well, you look at Zach Johnson when he won the Masters. Didn't
Very
go for a
much
par 5 and 2.
Yeah.
I remember playing Sarah Bennett, who was last year's captain of the PGA. Played with her in a Pro-Am, and what impressed me so much was she played to, as you say, to that known distance. This is going back 20-something years. But she was absolutely devastatingly accurate from, she knew that her yardage,
Yeah.
she knew the right yardage to play to, and she, every single time it was a bit of a risk-reward shot, and she didn't
Yeah.
quite fancy the shot. She just played to this, it was about 80 yards, 70, 80 yards, and the up and down percentage was high.
But that's
really-
what I
really
actually
impressive.
started to learn the last couple of years. Like, I actually made more up and down birdies on par 5s by actually making it a 3-shot hole instead of going for it. And sometimes you have to play to your strengths.
I think we see players going for it in par 5 so often. That's kind of it sort of draws you into saying, oh, I must do that, I must get close to the green. Whereas actually sometimes having a full wedge shot in
And then
is
you
the right way to play.
you get a horrific lie on the side of the green where, you got a downhill lie and it's water, and then like you go over a bunker, and I'm like, how is this benefiting
Hacking
me?
out of bracken or heather.
Than
or,
literally having a nice, perfect shot from the fairway at a distance, you know. So it's.
I guess it goes back a bit to what we were saying about the driver. You're much better playing in play
Yeah.
from a nice fairway lie.
Exactly.
You can control it.
You can
Yeah.
you can work from there, can't you? So we're on to 7-iron now with Carly.
So, gone through a few bits, like one's most nervous, but I think what's the best shot you've ever hit?
Well, it sounds
Given
like
the
3
sit-
wood to
given
10
the
feet into
situation,
the
through, yeah.
That sounded pretty tasty
I mean,
as well,
that's
didn't it?
hard. That's hard. I've had 2 hole-in-ones on tour. But I would say my best memorable shot is the 4th extra playoff hole in Sweden. So after I won the Scottish Open, a month later when I said that I wanted to win once more before I turned 20, I went into a playoff with 3 others. We went down the 4th, and it was just, we played the 18th, obviously 4 times. And then we're going to move to another hole if we all equal birdies. We birdied it every single time, all different ways. Oh my God, it was
How many were you in the
unbelievable.
playoff? Just 2 of you?
There was 4 of us.
Oh, 4 of you?
Yeah.
I beg your pardon.
So then they were going to change the hole. And I'm
So
like,
4 of you played 4 holes in
Yeah.
a playoff?
yes. So then.
Sorry, I'm a bit slow catching up. Sorry.
So then they were going to say, we're going to play, well, sorry, this was the 4th now. If there's no winner, we're going to move to the 9th hole. And I hated the 9th hole. Like, it was the tightest, little narrowest kind of par 4. I'm like, I got to win. So driver down the middle, and hit 5-iron to 10 feet and hold it for eagle. So I won on an eagle.
For an eagle, okay.
So that 5-iron, that driver, that 5-iron, that putt.
All I'm hearing so far is eagles.
Yeah.
That's all
Well-
I'm hearing from your golf, Carly.
Well, I had to eagle, otherwise no one was like. We could have been there for days.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So yeah, that was my most memorable shot. It was my most memorable hole.
Got it. So you were threatened with playing a hole you didn't like, so
Yeah.
you just banged
So I
in
had
an
to
eagle.
step up.
Just banged in an
Had
step
to
up.
step up.
I'm bored now.
Just clearly good mental talking to.
I was tired as
Sort
well.
yourself out. Let's get this over with.
Oh, that
So
was a bit heavy.
we've got
that
friend,
one.
friend
That's
of
gonna go
PG,
left.
Radhika, with LET LPGA competitions so high, how do you manage expectations and confidence from round to round, comp to comp? Very good question.
Sorry, repeat that.
So how do you manage your expectations? You've just won a tournament.
I think
How do you manage your expectations for the next tournament?
I think you get your mindset quite high and you're confident already. So you go in there with confidence. And I guess that's why you practice for hours and hours and hours, why pre-shot routine is so important, why everything that you do to be ready for a tournament round is so vital. And that's what makes a winner on tour.
Yeah.
It's
And-
all the preparation.
And when you go out and shoot 63 first round,
Yeah.
how do you
It's been a while.
how do you go and manage your expectation on the
Well,
next?
You know what?
often-
You
see
don't
often
think
see
about
people
it.
shoot 62, 63 and then have like an over par round the following day. So following
But
up.
you know what? You don't think about it like that. Like, I remember playing, so the first time I won the Scottish under-18s was back in 2015 up at Peterhead. So it's 2 rounds qualifying, 18 holes, 36 holes in one day. And then obviously 36 qualify and it's match play. And the first round, get there after school, Dad drives me up and it's pure fog, so can't have a practice round. First round, shoot 9 under.
Nice.
I'm
Decent
leading by
start.
10 shots in the first.
Stop it.
No, of
That's
course
like-
record.
Which was nice.
Then I
I'll be
shoot.
mostly leading by 10 shots.
Then the second round in the afternoon, I shoot level par, which felt so disappointing.
Yeah, well, it's like, because when you, I mean, I've shot a few low ones. I've never had 10, but I've had a few low ones. When you get to like the 6th or 7th hole, it's like, I'm only
you
level
just
par.
basically-
Yesterday I was here, I was like 500 at this point yesterday, and today I'm only level, which is hard to manage.
I know it is because that's where the mental strength needs to come in, And that's where I think a lot of people do start to bottle it a little bit. Like, oh my God.
Well, I guess you
course
say you've
record
done so.
or-
Where you don't like, it's like me having a good first 5 holes. You don't want to ruin the start.
Yeah.
So,
But you
whereas
start
the top
making it-
players just
you-
keep going.
You actually start making it like a problem in your head,
Oh,
or
yeah,
a
yeah,
nervous,
yeah.
a nervousness in your head,
Yeah.
where you should not even be thinking about it at all.
Yeah,
Just
should be
play
firing at
each
pins.
hole as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through a stage where playing 3 holes at a time, so
Mm.
even on tour. So I'm playing 3 holes. I want to finish 1 under each 3 holes. That was my goal. If
Yeah.
I wasn't, it is what it is. But that was it. I just
Mm.
played 3 holes at a time. So you kind of have to minimize your expectations,
Yeah.
keep it small, especially over the space of like 5 hours. It's a long time out there on tour.
I always found that hovering around par was the worst place to be. When
Hovering around the cut.
Yeah, well,
is the worst
that's
place
pretty
to be.
nasty as well, right? But when you start to get, I found that when you were 2 or 3 under, I felt so much more comfortable to then go 3, 4, 5, rather than when you're at level par or 1 under or 1
Yeah.
over. It felt like, oh, I'm on the cusp of
You
going
could
3,
easily-
Yeah,
4
it's
over.
true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
It's really, and look, whether it's gross or net, golfers out there will feel the same thing, that they're on for a
Yeah.
good score, they've got through 12 holes, and they're playing around their handicap.
And their playing partner then says, "You're having a good round
Oh.
today, aren't you?" That's always a good.
That's
isn't
it. That's it.
Oh, look,
Exactly.
you've had a good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cheers for that.
Yeah.
So Niels says, Carly, how often do you change equipment, irons, woods, respectively? How often do you change equipment?
I used to probably have wedges more regularly, maybe every 3 months. Change my 60, 54, 50 that I have. Irons, not necessarily needed, but it depends on what company you're with. You know, they send you the new stuff to obviously promote as well in that sense. So irons within 1 season, a season with 1 set, and then towards the end you're starting with a new set to get ready for the new season, that kind of thing. And then, you know, it depends on the products.
Yeah.
You know, they want you promoting the latest stuff as well. So
Any favourite sets that you've had? What was your favourite set of irons you had over the years? Can you think of them?
what can I say? I feel that's a bit.
Is that a personal question?
No,
Oh,
it's
no,
not.
but there'd be no,
Do you know what? I
there'd be
will
no
just-
slant to any of
there's-
your manufacturers. But was there a specific model that you really
Do you know
had?
what? I was one that as soon as a new set just came, I just put it in the bag. And I was 12 years with Nike, for example.
Yeah.
And I always remember having this conversation in a junior competition, the Daily Telegraph Finals, where I'd won. And Tommy Fleetwood just came second to Stiggy Hodgkinson.
Yeah.
We won it. But in our conversation, or actually, no, sorry, I take that back. It was 2 years after. Tommy was working with Nike as well as I was, so that looking after us both. And I just got sent the new irons, and he did as well. But he put the new irons in the bag to take to Abu Dhabi. I decided I might just stick with mine that I have right now because I haven't tried them yet. And I was like that with him. I would just put them straight in the bag. I'm like, damn, I wish I just did that because they look so much nicer and newer.
Yeah.
I went for what it looked nice, not
Yeah.
necessarily
the
like. I
best.
mean, I'm 15 years old and I've got 6.0 shafts and blades. I'm like, it really didn't help myself in any way.
We didn't know back then. They didn't.
Yeah,
know.
but kind of
I'm
says how
playing
good you
blades at
are,
14, yeah.
to be fair.
But you just kind of like, that's a field player.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really have coaches. I just kind of figured it all out myself. I mean, I had coaches, I had guidance.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong with that, but I think that your coach isn't going to be there when you're struggling on the 13th hole
No.
to give you advice. You need to figure out yourself. And I think
100%.
that's the most important thing, especially as a player.
Well, I'm sure you're desperate to hit this 5-iron.
Yes, lovely. It's a lovely club, though. To
One
be fair.
club, Barry, best irons ever. Mizuno MP33, get my bite. Ooh, 33s were a very pretty head. I
Yeah.
always longed for a set of TP9s when I was younger.
Were they the winged back?
Yeah, they're the ones that are lappable one.
Yeah. I really enjoyed those. That
Yeah.
was mint, Carly.
Although I have to say the mirrors
Look
that I
at
play with now
that.
are See,
Don't hit,
it's the
don't hit
fiver.
another one of those.
It's the
Don't hit
fiver.
another one because it's not going to get any better than that.
That's that
That
one
was
that's gone
just
to about.
absolutely.
Look at that. Face to target, 0.3 of a degree. That's the one that's gone to about 2 foot and tapping
That
for
was
eagle.
absolutely naughty, Carly.
I definitely need to not play more golf often.
Yeah, don't bother. Keep them in the corner and just drag them out when you need to.
All right, let's get. I do like after my shoulder up though. Like it's annoying because I do hit it so much shorter. And when I used to hit it like quite long, I would say I used to fly it like 20 yards longer. But like you said, as we've been speaking, as long as it goes straight.
Yeah.
Right, let's get some energy behind this one.
It's not come through on here as a question, but it's one that I'm quite interested with. Is that
Oh.
first tee, big tournament? You know, everyone hates the first tee shot, whether it's their
Well, I
club
know
medal,
I've played
whether
US Open, British Open. It's nerve-wracking.
How do you? What do you do? Oh, I usually probably try not to do anything differently. But how do you deal with that? You know, when you've got obviously the
I think
TV cameras and the crowds and everything.
I'm still marvelling at just the 5-iron and the driver just with a couple of little
just
butter
lasered,
draws down
yeah.
there. Yeah, but anyway. carry on.
I think it's like you said, it's pre-shot routine. It's knowing yourself, it's knowing your game, and that's what you work for and work hard at. I mean, you obviously gonna have butterflies and be nervous when it's like, but I actually enjoy the crowd.
Yeah.
I prefer the cheer.
Yeah.
It kind of motivates me more. It kind of
Would you be on the first tee at a Solheim Cup, giving it the cheer?
Yeah.
Well, I've done it at Junior Ryder Cup. I've done it at Curtis
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that when you're young, and you're on your game, you've got
Yeah.
a couple of wins. It's like
got a
bring
bit-
on the crowd. Come on, I want to show you how good I am.
It's a different thing when you're, when you're young and you literally have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So when you go from an amateur to professional, where your professional career is actually your life now, the kind of the change in your mentality in a sense where now you've got sponsors to please, you've got fans to please, you've got money to make. It's definitely a different feeling where I struggled in my first 2 years to try and comprehend the difference.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, when you sort of in your early 30s like I am, and you've had
that's me.
But when you
He
get a
doesn't
bit
look bad for
older,
62,
when you
does
get, when you get a bit older and you've got a bit of battle wounds, and all of a sudden all you can see is sort of hitting it like the red arrows. I mean, I don't hit it sideways at all. But, all of a sudden when you get a bit older, compared to when you're 20 years old, you've just won a couple
I
of
know.
times.
It's like how
It's like you could throw anything at me and I'll just bat it off and I'll whack it down the middle and I'll make a birdie. And if I shoot,
Yeah.
and if I shoot 75 today, I don't care because I know I'm going to go out and shoot 64 tomorrow. When people watch on TV, the guys and girls playing in front of these big crowds, they feel all nervous. But the guys aren't really feeling
But
it.
you know
They're
what?
buzzing
They
off
don't
it.
even actually really
No,
care or
No.
notice.
no.
They're just
Yeah,
there.
They're
Yeah.
there. But
They're
yeah.
focused on what they're doing. That they're there for a reason. That's what they're focused on. So the crowd, no matter how big, how small, they've got their plan. That's their plan for the day, and that's it. They stick to it,
100%.
and
I
that's
think
the
that,
most
that
important
probably
thing.
goes back a bit to my questions in terms of that first tee shot. What do you do? Well, you've already played you've done your practice rounds. You know the course. You know the shot you want to hit. So it's just
Yeah.
picture that shot and commit to it.
Yeah.
And where we go wrong is we picture a shot and go, I might just hit the draw today, and then you see two shots, and then you hit completely the wrong one.
Well, like for example, especially playing like Scottish Open or British Open, where you never know what way the wind's going to be, or it could be no wind. So you play for you have everything in your book, right? If it's going to be downwind, you play this club. If it's against this club, you have everything factored in your little book, where I know exactly what I'm going to do when I know that day comes because I've got it all prepared.
Yeah.
So that's the preparation of practice rounds, having a good caddy, which is very important. They play such a big role in professional golfers' careers. So it's literally, it's a teamwork.
100%.
Interesting to say from Steve Wilson there.
Steve Wilson, in a tournament context, are you someone who wants to talk to your playing partner, or do you prefer to stay in your bubble?
So
Depends who they are, I
everyone's different. Yeah, it depends if you like them or not. Civil or friendly. No, I like to distract myself. So I like to have a bit of fun. Like part of one thing I always want from my caddy, for example, is to have a laugh and take me away from what I'm actually doing. So you kind of have that same minute where, right, you're focused on what you're doing, but between each shots, it's a laugh. You're talking about all sorts of random, absolute nonsense, which is good because it gives you a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I think that's, well, look, we're all different, but I think that's a nice place
Yeah.
to be. Barry, Precision Golf, Kate, back again. The missus is on. Is she not doing anything at home? Not looking after the kids?
Clearly in rehab.
Oh my
after
God.
Can't
Carly
wait
is
for
going-
Thursday.
Carly's going to have to give me so many shots on Thursday. Word
God,
on
I'm
the
glad
street.
we're only playing 9 holes, Kate.
Uh,
I'm not
no,
got
It's
all
not,
day.
it's not like she's not competitive either. Let's face
I
it.
know.
Yeah. Well, look, you've just hit a beautiful little draw down there. Let's see you hit a little fade down there. You hit a little
God.
fade for us.
Okay, I'll
We were
try.
talking about a little trappy fade earlier.
All right. So fade.
And what do you, when you're playing these sort of shots, what do you do? Are you someone who just pictures a shot and react to it? Do you
Yeah,
think
like-
about something technique-wise?
I usually pick a target. I might slightly change my club face and slightly my shoulders and my address, because if I want to try and play a draw, which is not as natural for me at times, I'm more closed.
Yeah.
Fade, I'm very good. Like my stock shot, you could say, is like a little punchy fade.
Okay, yeah.
So, naturally it would be, I actually hit it quite straight. Like, it's actually worse because you don't have an actual, like, perfect kind of go-to shot. But, right, so if I'm gonna feel a little bit more open with my shoulders for this one. But really still turn through.
Yeah, and you really see that
Please
left side
work.
clearing out the way. Yeah.
Beautiful.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So go on then. So if you had to hit a little fade down a fairway, how would you do it?
How would I do it? I would. Oh,
I actually just nailed that.
We should all. I'm going to do it as well.
okay.
I
right.
definitely need to play golf less often.
Look at that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't, thanks for throwing me under the bus here. You just hit it 3 feet offline.
It's 1
And-
foot, one
and
foot
now-
2 inches offline, by the way.
And now the 30-year-old's got to come up and
So what would your stock shot be? And
do you know what? I shape the ball relative to strike. I find it so much easier to either draw it out the toe or hit it out the heel to hit a fade.
that sounds like that's one of those where someone went to Jack Nicklaus and said, "How do you hit a draw and a fade?" He said, "Well, to draw, I hit it a bit out the toe, and to fade, I hit it about the heel." And you go, "Yeah, whatever." Yeah,
I mean,
you're you know.
I mean, I
that's
do
Jack Nicklaus doing it, but yeah.
feel slightly more across it and slightly more, so I'd aim slightly further left. I'd put the ball slightly further forwards in my swing so that I'm starting to work the ball a little bit more, the path a little bit more from the across it, with it being further forwards, and then fractionally backing out the toe for a draw. But I don't do too much because I think, going back to what we we're talking about, it's like becomes instinctive. It's like you smell fade and you smell draw. I don't go aim the path here, face
Yeah.
here. It's so kind of,
I think the main thing is with the fade as well, you still have to make sure you commit through with that right shoulder, because I think people think you
Yeah.
kind
Up
of
and
leave
out,
it
right.
behind.
yeah. Well, I'll aim to hit a fade a bit closer to the line if that's possible. Oh no, I've whipped it out the toe.
It's okay. Your face to path was big enough that it still faded. But
Look at that. That's so perfect.
bad.
look at that, but you did
Oh,
have
it's
the toe, so you
not
got the
bad.
nice spin.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
So historically
it.
for me, a fade was a horrific thing to hit because I used to be a slingy drawer.
Yeah.
And thanks to your good self, I'm now much more proficient at hitting a fade. Like Carly, actually, my ball flight's become a lot more neutral.
Listen, yeah, I
So-
like it. I like it. So,
so,
you're fading just up, aiming up the left and feeling it coming back, or
thing that I've found over the years, and it'll sound arrogant, but it's not, is that if I picture a shot, I think because I'm already reacting to it, if I then try and do the same shot, I can't double it up, I always overdo it. So for me, I try to picture one of those in the sky. If I can picture the shot tracer and then just swing.
yeah.
And then if I can get out my own way and just swing, then it.
Okay.
So that's really set myself up for a
Yeah,
fade.
I was gonna say.
But I'll still try and aim at my start line
Gotcha.
and then not shift past
Okay.
too much. So aim. This isn't my driver, just to.
Yeah. Throw a few disclaimers in there, nice
yeah.
and early. Oh,
I've just pulled it.
pull draw.
It's not drawn. It's not drawn.
No, it has. It has
It's a
drawn.
stiff back and it's a pull. But it's not my bag will always be the flip with it, and that's
Yeah.
gone now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll take that. That was.
I love Turtle. Apart from Stu Obbs, which is the best player Carly has played with, and if she had a choice, who would her ideal
Okay,
four-ball
well,
be?
I've played with Jason Day. I've played with, God, too many good players, to be fair. I've been quite privileged. Obviously, McIlroy.
Who was a standout out of McIlroy
Well,
and
McIlroy was when we were kids, more so. Jason Day, we played at Wentworth in the Gary Player Invitational, and we played I can't remember, is it Edinburgh course?
Edinburgh, yeah, South Edinburgh.
It's
yeah.
quite small, quite short. I think he didn't even hit a driver all day and shot 7 under.
McIlroy.
No,
Oh,
Jason
Jason,
Day.
Jason.
And he is the most loveliest person
Yeah.
I could really say on tour if I had an opinion. To who I know, if you get what I mean. So,
And then ideal four ball.
well, I've always said to myself, Tiger Woods, The Rock, Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, just
okay,
the
yeah,
rock
fair,
and white
fair.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. And then I will do it next as well. But yeah, your favourite four, your ideal four ball.
My fave four-ball would be, I think you'd be, if you didn't have Tiger in there, you'd be some sort of cretin, wouldn't you?
You need someone funny in there.
Yeah,
to
you need,
make
you
the
know,
day.
yeah. Well, I think you've actually played with this chap, Bob Menery.
Yes,
Oh.
I have hosted him at Augusta, yes.
Right, yeah.
He is hilarious and a good
so,
friend.
So he's a bit of a loose cannon, is the.
He is a loose cannon, but
he
with
is
a great heart,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
follow him on Instagash, so he's a lot of fun. So I think he would be a good one to have on there.
Yeah.
And I think someone that's been inspirational in my world, my dad. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's who I'd have in my
Okay.
four. And you?
I mean, if you think just golfers, Seve, Palmer, Tiger,
Right.
just golfers,
Yeah.
and outside of that, he doesn't play golf. But Eric Clapton's my kind of. I
Okay.
love guitar, and he's
Yeah.
an idol of mine.
So,
actually
what you
grew up-
actually,
yeah,
so
but
you're saying
golfers
you want
probably,
2 4 balls, but no.
Yeah, basically.
I
Yeah.
would
But
like,
probably,
I could name about 4.
But spring to mind would be
Yeah.
Seve, Tiger, and Palmer.
Yeah.
You got to have Tiger in there, haven't you? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you
incredible.
can't not.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're coming close to the end of the show. We've got time for one more question. We'll throw it out to Niels. How much time do you have to spend on sponsors' activities, and what examples would those activities be? So, when people have sponsored you in the past, what sort of
Well,
commitments do you have to
generally,
give?
you know,
to
they're very supportive in obviously your career. You're traveling a lot, so what works and what can be maybe arranged between events is usually what they try and do.
So a golf day, or
Yeah, a golf day, just being with clients, doing maybe media stuff for the company. But, you know, in the past, it's working on around your schedule.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, no, I've been very privileged to have some great sponsors in the past.
And they've been very privileged to have you as well.
Thank
I
you.
think we can both
Yeah.
attest to a fantastic first guest on
Yeah,
our
yeah,
Monday
yeah.
or Tuesday. night.
Problem is, we're now got to live up to. Haven't
I know,
we?
and nobody's going to want to come on
Can't
because
get a
Carly's
rotter now,
smashed it
can
out
we?
the park this evening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cardi, big thanks for coming.
Thank you
Thanks for
guys.
coming.
It's always a pleasure.
And to you and all three
and-
of us.
and
I think
to
we-
you.
I think we've all
I
got it.
think-
Bring it
Cheers,
in. I
guys.
think we've all
Cheers,
got it.
guys.
I think I'm feeling so suitably inferior to TV personality, tour winner, and
I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to do that. Well, listen, if you've enjoyed tonight's show, we certainly have. Do give us a like and subscribe while you're here. Share with your friends. Loads more content coming your way. Check us out next Monday at 6 o'clock as usual, our usual spot for our Monday Live. Take it easy. We'll see you soon.